May the gods keep the wolves in the hills and the women in our beds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Blood you seek, you're welcome to join us.
The Thessalonian you're fighting. He's the biggest man I've ever seen. I wouldn't want to fight him.
That's why no one will remember your name.
When all else fails, fresh tactics.
You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, greatest wall that's ever been built. You don't start there. You say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. Yeah. And you do that every single day, and soon you have a wall.
Welcome to the My Father podcast, where men on the same mission come to grow, have discussions, and educate one another. If you want to become a supporter or join our community, go to www.my-father.com.
Telling those sweet lies and losing again. I was looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for love in too many faces, searching their eyes, looking for traces.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the My Father podcast. I am joined here with Nicole and Mikhail, and today we're going to be talking about looking for love in all the wrong places. It's something I think a lot of people relate to, and I think it's a good topic. Now, you guys, I don't know if you guys know Nicole. She's someone who runs the Elevate Him nonprofit. Do you want to speak on that real quick, Nicole?
So I have the nonprofit Elevate Him, and what we do is, we provide resources and basically like support for men. I started to do some research, a while back, and I realized there is not a lot of resources and support in the community for men. And I'm a huge advocate for suicide prevention, and with suicide being the number one, cause of death in men, it really struck a chord, especially when it hit home for me with my brother committing about 11 years ago. So I just took charge and I started this nonprofit to really help encourage, inspire, and build confidence in men moving forward.
Yeah. I know when we first talked and you brought the idea to me, it sounded like it was kind of right out of a breakup. Maybe you had a time where you kind of had some downtime after a breakup.
Yeah, so I real quick I was working for Alaska Airlines at the time, and I was able to travel and do things. Well, I decided to start dating, and I'm like, I don't want to just keep myself in one spot. I can travel, so I'm gonna get on a dating site and I'm gonna find me someone. And when I did that, I met somebody who was in California, and we talked back and forth. Obviously it was long distance, but I had the ability to fly in like almost every weekend, and so it felt pretty normal, right? And so I was always kind of skeptic of like long distance, but with the situation of being able to fly everywhere, it felt normal, like, okay, this is doable. And so we really built off of that, and he would fly into town too. And long story short, I had gone into town in California to see him, and there was a job opening for an airline like where his airport was. So I applied for it that weekend and I got hired on the spot. And so that was kind of the turning point, like, oh crap, like what am I doing? Am I moving now? Like this is all crazy. So I go back to his house, tell him I got the job. He's happy. We call my family. Everybody's happy. I came back to Portland and basically just decided, okay, this is what we're doing. There's a ring involved, there's a commitment, we got kids. And so I sold everything, quit my job. Within 30 days, he flew into town. We took a U-Haul down and we're living life. I'm starting my job. Wow. Then you start to live with somebody, right? So here's the kicker. Yikes. Yeah. But you start to see things, and it wasn't anything like disrespectful in my face from him. It was a lot of like secrecy, or, not really saying where you are when you're out. And I have a big intuition, and it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because of experiences. But I listened to my gut and I questioned it, a couple times respectfully, but I felt I was doing everything right, being a good woman, and I brought it to his attention respectfully. But long and behold, instead of saying, if it bothers you, it bothers me, it turned into, you should probably leave. And I'm like, oh, you need something at the store? Where am I going? Where are we going? Like, I had no idea what that meant until I realized, no, you're pushing me out.
Yeah.
So I got a U-Haul, the little bit of things that I had, because I had sold everything before. I hit the road, came back, and got my job back, found a little townhouse, and started my life from scratch.
Yeah.
So very heavy.
It is. And it's amazing to me that you went through something so difficult like that. And the other side, you come out supporting men, which is just mind blowing to me. So I just want to give you like a applause for that. Like, that's really cool. It's really cool to hear that. That you still think there's faith out there, and there's good men out there. So I
do. And I met a lot of amazing men. I do believe that, this is going to be more of just a generalized platform, right? Because we're not saying all men or all women are like this. So there is, I feel like there is hope. I just think we need to be really honest about what we want and quit playing around with the rest of the things, because people do get hurt.
Yeah.
And if you don't have proper intentions, or you don't really have what it takes to match somebody else's, then you're doing it wrong. And it leads into turmoils and stuff like that. And yes, I did come out of something that broke my heart, so I can relate to women being screwed over by guys. I have a huge hole in my heart, but I was able to grow out of that and heal and look at myself as a woman, like what I could have done differently, and push forward and just have faith and love again.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's good.
So you feel that do you feel like he wasn't real, like from the beginning, and in general, that's a theme that we see with many men, women, but I would say men largely. We don't lead the way in just being 100 real about, like, this is really where I'm at. Like, I love you, I want you, but maybe I also want, my space, and I want, I'm not there, whatever that may mean, or I do want you and I want to cheat on you too. Like, you just tell me up front that's what it's going to be, so I knew that. So you feel like he wasn't real, and that's a problem we feel with men and overall.
I thought in the very beginning it was very real. I wouldn't have made such a drastic move if I didn't feel it was. Unfortunately, I think as you start to see red flags, I think women tend to want to have a little bit of hope. There's the whole statistic of you're basically innocent until proven guilty, but in the dating world, everybody's guilty until proven innocent. You know what I mean? And so I felt like, even though there was some red flags, I wanted to just give him the benefit of the doubt and not be in my head too much to where I sabotaged it. But long and behold, with the intuition and the things that did reveal, he wasn't 100.
Yeah. I think that's a problem we find with people in general. Maybe they don't know who they are. They're not genuinely real with other people. Maybe their insecurities, maybe their fears, maybe they don't know what they want. But I think we find that theme with men, and as a result, because men are masking their emotions with drugs, alcohol, or a number of other
sex,
things,
whatever, right?
Or just choosing to put on a facade of who they think they are. That we, as you mentioned before, like elevating it, like we got a standard that we need to set for men that's rising above their ability to say, I'm gonna let you get by with not being honest with your children, being honest with your relationship, being honest with yourself. I'm gonna co-sign it and let it keep going like that for the peace, because it's easier that way. I think we've done ourselves a disservice by doing that.
I think some women do draw that line. They draw that boundary and they draw that line, but I feel like it's other men who need to draw that line for other men and like hold them to a higher expectation. Like, we're better than this.
Right. Well, there's a flip to that. So when I was on this dating site, right, when I met him, he actually pursued me 3 or 4 times before I even like responded back. I saw his picture. I kind of just went through it. I didn't really engage. I didn't put a focus on it. So he pretty much, shot his shot basically. And with that, I'm like going back like a couple weeks later going, oh, how did I miss this? And as I started to read his profile and kind of engage more into his pictures and the similarity and things that we had in common, I messaged back. And, he was like, wow, I almost gave up because you weren't responding. And I felt like rude, like, oh my God, that's not, and I probably said, oh, I was busy or whatever the case. But,
Sure.
We started to engage.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about it is it just kind of sparked. And then there was mutual. We were really feeling each other. But my question to you guys, and maybe a lot of women might have these same kind of like thoughts, when a guy pursues you, and then he gets you, why be on anything other than 100? You're pursuing me. You're coming after me. Like, you found me. Mm-hmm. And once I then now put myself in a position to mutually, invest in you, you want to pull some shady stuff, or you want to be something different. Like, that's kind of unfair.
Yeah.
So when you pursue women, why does funny stuff happen afterwards when you shoot your shot?
I don't know. What do you think, Mikhail?
Okay. I was gonna kind of let you answer first, but okay. So a couple things. I was thinking back to when I was younger. I think men and women, especially younger. I'm 32 now, but I'm fairly mature for 32 in terms of my understanding of myself and marriage and I'm raising a couple kids now, but when I was in my mid-20s, I would say I looked at pursuing a woman, or if I knew she wasn't the one, like deep down, I saw it as passing time. And women, I knew women, even from that age, mid-20s, 30s, 40-year-old women, that I had, I had friendships or relationships with back when I was younger. Older women did not older women, but women that knew what they wanted and were grown, they did not see it as passing time. They saw it as an investment.
Oh,
and I didn't see it as investment. I saw it as an activity to pass time. I'm gonna
holding over till you get what you want.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So our view of what was happening, and like you mentioned, women want to assume the best because they say, I've been jaded in the past, I've been hurt. I'm not going to assume the worst. So I'm gonna so they want to assume the best, and sometimes to their detriment, because then they're like, I believe but he's not going to come around. He might not grow up. But he has a potential to grow up, but he might not. And there's that. And the other thing I think is that men also, in our sickness and being a younger guy, sometimes it's like it's a game to a guy, and it's about the chase.
Yeah,
it's purely getting you.
I'm gonna hit on that one in a minute.
Get you. Yeah, and like I got her. Yeah, but now where's the fun next? Now I gotta find.
Yeah, no, I think I couldn't speak on that, because when I became single after my marriage, I was very honest, and I was like, hey, like my intentions are just for this, and I had women who said, I'm not interested, good luck, and I said, okay, like I wasn't trying to get it and hold it just for nothing, so I let them know what it was, and the ones who accepted it, they accepted it. The ones who didn't, and yeah. So I guess why it was hard for me to think about why some people might do that,
And I think like you hit it earlier, Mikhail, with the whole like confidence thing. I think there's something that, again, if you don't look at your situation or where you want to be or what you're looking for up front and really like writing it down, I don't care, but you shouldn't be on a dating site if you're not willing to date. And obviously there seems to be a lot of different, interpretations of dating. Dating is just going out and sleeping around. Dating is actually like just having a couple people to hang out with. And dating is actually for those who really want a committed, serious, exclusive relationship. So until you understand like what your understanding of dating is, you're going to have all these misconceptions and you're going to be leading people on. Yeah. Like, I've had guys tell me, oh, you're my rib because I mentioned marriage, but to turn and find out he's already married with 5 kids. I just became a pork chop, not even the rib anymore. You know what I mean? And so we're wasting time when we're not communicating our true intentions.
Yeah. And the difficulty is the culture has facilitated an environment where because men didn't have father figures, or what we see on social media, it's like, where do men learn not only to be a man, which is part of it, but a subcategory of being a man is to have like some grit and to have some commitment. Commitment. That's a hard, when you hear commitment, you hear like from a biblical sense, what you say, like there's submission that happens both ways. Like I'm submit to my wife. See, like just hearing that word in our society today.
Yeah.
People hear some commitment, submission. That's like a cuss word. Like those are pretty nasty words.
Yeah.
Because it requires that we would be able to evaluate ourselves and be really uncomfortable with and be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
To
go back to that confidence thing you'd mentioned, I think I had to have a level of confidence of, I'm going to tell this girl what my real intentions are, and there's a good chance that she's not going to want to talk to me anymore.
But the ones that did liked it.
Yeah, but I'm saying is I had to have that confidence to say, I'm going to say this regardless of the outcome, which I feel like most guys, they won't. They're not confident enough, so they'll hide their real intentions to sneakily get what they want. Agreed?
Yes. But the thing is, when you look at that operation, a lot of guys then expect, and I think women expect a totally different thing too, which we'll gear on, but I think guys expect, like, I've seen these memes where it says, I want exclusiveness, I want cooking, I want cleaning, I want this wife type of woman, but I want to do me. And so again, it's like, it's very complex, because if you put out there that you want a wife and then you get that type of wifey type girl, or the one that then now has the expectation, okay, are we exclusive? Are we committed? Now we have these expectations of what we're gearing on, for you guys to then say, well, let's just see where it goes. No, you made it sound like you were ready just as much as I was ready. Now you want to slow the process down so you can go out and be with other people. Then you should have started it that way. And so I really find that frustrating, and I'm sure a lot of women do.
Do you think it's the hunt mentality? Do you think once you've gotten it, like you said, Mikhail, it's kind of lost, it's the game's over? Because
to the men, we like in our culture, instant gratification. They're not after the long game. They're after the short. Do they understand like the pleasure in having somebody like long-term and commitment? It's hard, but it's beautiful. But the short-term game is, I'm gonna get it now and I want it now. It's like a fast food restaurant. And so that, because they're not mature yet to see, maybe example, like, it's difficult for me. I'm a difficult person sometimes. I don't have to win every fight with my wife. Sometimes I can just not say anything back, because it's a long game. I want to be happy. And sometimes I make the wrong decision, but that's the idea, The men don't have that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do men like to be chased as well? And the reason why I ask this is because I have gone on dates before. Again, my intuition, my intentions are very much brought to the table. Yeah. The engaging seems like it's mutual. And then we have this great date, and then we go about our lives, right? And we say, oh yeah, we'll keep in contact, or I'll text you later, or whatever. And yet men, if you're I'm kind of old school like that. I like the fact that a man will pursue me, because I'll definitely take it and I'll receive it. I'm very open to that. However, those dates don't really go on to a second or a third one, because now it's like we're not hearing from each other. So I'm like, well, he didn't call me back, must have not have clicked. And then maybe on his end, he's like, well, crap, she's not interested in me because she's not coming at me. And now we live in this society where we can just inbox and show some attention to each other, and women are doing it just as aggressively now. So don't men like to be chased too?
I think some do, but I think men need to be. So I'll put that question aside for a second to say this. I think the man needs to, as a leader, if he believes he's a leader, to put his expectations out. Hey, this is what I'm looking for. You know, I am looking, but you know, like, or I am looking, and I'm, you know, I told my wife that in our first date. Roland introduced me to my wife, and like in the first date, I said, so I'm looking for a wife, like, so you know, and so she knew that immediately. Whether it took her a while to come around, you know, like she thought about it, and we had, you know, we discussed things, but it didn't take a while. It took like, you know, less than a month, you know. But for me, you know, I'm a fast moving guy, so we got married like, you know, 7 months later. But I think men don't put their intentions on the table, and if they didn't, and you're leading and putting the intentions on the table, saying this is what I'm after, this is what I'm looking for, and you say it first, then he's able to be like, oh, I mean, yeah, me too. I'm kind of, yeah. So I'm gonna feel her out and see.
So why do you think,
you know?
why do you think men don't? I think it's lack of confidence. I think
Yeah, they don't know because they don't know what they want. Because they
even if
haven't
they
thought
do, I think
about
they're
it.
afraid to say it because they're afraid of rejection.
But if people like Nicole, women, and because there are women like Nicole who will say first, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for. And then you'll hear the man,
Yeah,
me too. Yeah, I'm, you know.
Right. And I can see that. I can see how that does happen because I've seen that, excuse me, be done on a lot of studies before.
Mm-hmm.
But I would rather get rejected on the first date than going on like 8 months thinking that we're exclusive, thinking that I'm like the one. You know what I mean? So yes, rejection sucks and it's part of the game. But if someone's not pursuing me, I'm going to take that as you're not interested. So I'm not gonna go, oh, he's not interested, let me try harder. Because I don't want that rejection. I don't want that initial listen, I had a great date with you, but I'm not feeling you. So I'd rather just let him lead. I think about it this way: women choose who they sleep with, right? We're very aware of that. Mm-hmm. Women control that. But I also have a level of feeling like men get to choose who they marry, because once they're ready for that particular stage in life.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a t-shirt worthy one right there. My goodness.
And that's just real talk, because when a man is ready, like you said, Mikhail, when a man is completely 100% ready, he gets to choose who he wants to marry, who's going to fit the script, who's going to have his back, who's going to follow his dreams, who's going to mold that queen or that wife of his. We can sleep with men all day long, but you really get to pick who you marry. Mm-hmm. And I think that is way more valuable than having the ability to go sleep with anybody. So for me, those two have to kind of intervene. They have to kind of mesh together. And I'm finding myself being the type that puts it out there, very honest, intentions are, you know, deliberate, getting that kind of, oh yeah, me too. And whether sex happens or not, now all of a sudden we got to figure out what we're doing. I don't know. You're cool, or they fall off, they go ghost. And it's like, you made it sound completely different. So reject me immediately. Let me go find somebody else who's on the same page deliberately.
Yeah. And I think because Roland said partially it's their fear, and I would say partially, but ultimately I believe, if you ask me, it's their lack of communication. And maybe it could be fear involved in that, but if they were communicated initially what the thoughts were, then, you know, Nicole was able to give her reciprocate accordingly.
I am 90% sure it's fear, because every time I told a girl like my truth, I had that feeling in my gut of this isn't going to go well. But I was honest with myself. And I think a lot of guys don't get that honest, and it's easier just to tell them this. Tell them what they want to hear and I can move on.
But do you think that they say that with the intent of possibly getting sex out of the deal?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
So then, do they know what they want then, Roland? Would I play the devil's advocate and say they do know what they want, and it's sex?
It's sex, yeah. I think it's sex what they want.
But they'll say whatever they have to get that? I don't know. I think women would really value and respect men more if there was less game involved, because if you were to talk to women about their experiences like you did with me, you know, early on, I have a lot more stories that I can gauge on with me being intentional, me, you know, kind of leading in a sense. And I would rather be told that, listen, I'm dating with just multiple people. Dating to me right now is just meeting people for fun, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
If I choose to then gauge that and be like, well, I dig you, I think you're cool, I'm grown, you're grown, okay, fine, I then have a choice.
Right.
Because eventually someone's going to bite the bait. Someone's going to be like, oh, okay, I don't want a boyfriend, I'm not looking for anything serious, we can do that.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
you're going to have a little bit of both. But when you start to really put that on good women with good intentions to really be in a solid relationship, and that's how you play her, now you got a bunch of jaded, crazy women who don't want to support men at all.
Yeah.
And then you guys sit there and go, well, I don't get it, I don't understand. Well, you did it to yourself by giving false hope and leading with the wrong hand. Give it to her up front. And I guarantee you women would be like, yo, I respect that, because I can't call you a liar. I can't call you a con artist. I can't call you a wolf in sheep clothing. I can't say nothing about anything. Your character was solid. And that's what's driving me to, you know, have faith in moving forward with other men.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, you know, I was thinking about what you said. And in my mid 20s and late 20s, I had a couple of serious relationships with women where some of them were long, like a year or multiple years. Okay, so maybe a year's not long. But the point is, marriage was discussed. I discussed marriage. I told them I loved them. They were, some of them verbally were expecting a ring, and some of them later on said, hey, at that time we went that place, and I thought for sure you were gonna ask me to marry you. We talked, and I was like, I'm not that same version of the guy initially, but I am that guy that led them on to think we were going to get married. And I never was ready to pull the trigger, but I told them I was, and I was going to, and I never did.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Why do you think
Well,
that?
that's kind of soul crushing.
Yeah.
Why do you think you did that?
I don't know.
At that time you already had them, right? So what was the point of that?
Yeah. I maybe, well, I would say partially maybe I saw some flags and I wasn't ready to be 100 about the fact that I saw the flags, and maybe you're not the one, maybe, I don't know, but I was never really intentional about saying that. Instead, I'm like, well, I'm comfortable here. I'm having a good time. I'm getting everything I want. So why would I ruin this for myself? And then, so I was wrong. I was part of the problem. I was part of the problem Nicole's talking about. Not in the same way she was talking about, but
I think we all we dabble on that line of part of the problem, and kind of identifying it now. I think it's easier for us because we lived in that problem. Now we step back and we're kind of like, okay, I can see it from afar now,
I should have led there, but I should have led and said, you know what? Stuff that's happened, we broke up, blah, blah. I really don't, I'm not there with you, and I probably need to let you go, either do what you're going to go do anyway, or find another guy that you really want to be serious and work on that. But instead, I sat because I was comfortable, because passing time alone was better than passing time alone was worse. Passing time alone with someone was better. Where the women even then were saying, there were Christian young women saying, oh, I do want to get married, until we got to a place where they didn't want to get married anymore because that train passed. And they're like, hey, I'm young, my clock is ticking, or these issues happen between us where it's like, it ruins what's happening, and that ship sails. And I thank God because I met my wife now, but I'm just saying I get being the problem, because I think, I was the problem because I didn't know, I truly did not want to man up and handle what I needed to handle and say what I needed to say, and either cut ties or, basically the same issues we're all talking about.
Yeah, no, it's hard, man. It's hard to make those uncomfortable decisions when it's that gut wrenching feeling, and you know what you need to do, but you also don't want to be alone, or you don't want the outcome that's going to come from that. So
I think that's what it would be, is men don't like being alone. And I don't think they were really designed to be. Why do you think, if you're a biblical person, and I've said this before in a lot of interviews that I've done, is we're the help. Women are, the help, whether it be just helping be a supportive friend, or the help in just, bringing you up and giving you confidence and being the lovers and the nurturers that we naturally are. That's how we're wired. My thing now, with dating, I've been single from that relationship, about 1.5 years now, going close to 2 years. And I've gone on dates. I've met some really great people. But the thing where I'm at is, yeah, my focus right now is my business. And so I definitely have gears and things that I'm pursuing that kind of takes me off the market for myself. I think being single for me is a choice, because I have kind of desensitized myself, because so many relationships have taught me something. Either I'm too emotional, or they don't want to deal with my intuition because they're on bullshit that they don't want to have to own up to, or I'm afraid of wasting time and getting hurt again, right? So I feel like I've kind of desensitized myself from allowing like butterflies to play a factor. And then when men show themselves immediately from a date, like I said, whether you never get the call back again, or maybe they were only looking for one thing. I had a guy like grab my boob at a restaurant, like on a date. Like, what are you doing? Like, what in your mind? And I wasn't even wearing anything revealing. If you know me, I don't. And I was very professional, slacks, heels, a nice shirt, blouse. And he just felt the need to grab me in that way. And then wanted to say, well, why can't I see you later for drinks? I don't understand like the psychological process of that being okay, but it had to have worked for somebody else because he did it, right? Yeah. And so I have a lot of just like tension with myself on putting myself out there like that. Yeah. And again, like I said, just kind of being desensitized. But I would recommend women who are choosing to date and get back out there. And this is kind of funny, but I stole this from a friend of mine. And I like to read books. And so the Dating Playbook for Men, right? I think women, and this is maybe just my twisted way of thinking, should really tap into how men date, what they do say up front, how they do feel, where they are coming from. Now, again, this is a person who wrote a book, so it's not on every man. Every situation will be different. But I think once women get like the playbook of how to conduct yourself, we won't get as played.
Yeah.
I think it's, like that. If everyone just had more respect for themselves, I think no one would be getting played.
Right. Or each other, just respecting each other. Like, hey, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to be, somebody who's just lonely and needs somebody to fill in my space. Like, like if we were respectful of each other, and as much as people say, oh, time you can never get back, and life is a big cluster crap of that, because it's like a contradiction. We want to hurry up and do things because we don't have time, but then when we're doing it, it's like, slow down, take your time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
I want to respect myself enough to know, oh, this is why I'm doing this. So then I can then tell it to you. I think a lot of people don't know why they do what they do.
Yeah.
I think they're so covered up with everything else. Like for example, let's talk numbers. I know you'd mentioned something about that. Like guys count their numbers. Do girls count their numbers? Like, is that like a thing that girls brag about?
No.
Men brag about that stuff. Men brag about that stuff.
Like, or are you talking about like how many men we've smashed?
Yes.
Or like what?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, not that I do. I can't speak for everybody, right? But no, I think I think more women feel more intentional. I think we're definitely on this weird like thing right now where women have found themselves more sexual. They've adopted more power. They've kind of, they're okay with getting like 120 likes on something because that gratifies them as beautiful or whatever. Yeah. But the thing that's funny is I never understood the whole thirst concept, because it's like, okay, who's really thirsty? You seem more thirsty for attention, but you're mad at him for giving you the attention that you put out there to get.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me, because it's like, you shame on her, not shame on him. He's doing what he likes, and you're promoting that. So I don't think, for me, has it ever been about a check mark or like making the marks on the bedpost, so to speak. I think my intentions are always pure to have a real relationship.
Yeah.
But I know that there are a lot of women out there who are just such on a power high of, screw it, I'm going to do me and I don't care what happens, and I'm fine with lowering my standards to get that.
Yeah.
I mean,
but so what,
how many guys are on piano?
Why? Like, what are they trying to cover? What are they after? Why is the purpose of that? Like, it's not to find a partner, because that's just
I think because men have been doing it for so long. Like when you think about all the things that men have suppressed women on, now they're coming back like full force. Like, oh, you've been doing this. You've been a player. You've been a cheater. You've been uncertain. You've been unstable. So guess what? Back at you. We're going to play the game too and probably do it better because we can be emotionally attached and also the player. You know, I think women can definitely do exactly what men do with, you know, false advertising or giving, you know, stringing somebody along. Maybe this guy over here has a great job and buys her stuff, but this guy over here is super funny and connects with her more. Maybe this guy has great sex with her. Well, I'm pointing, not this guy.
Not elevate him.
That was a shirt plug. That was a shirt plug for anyone watching YouTube.
This guy right here. No, I'm just saying. But, you know, maybe we've kind of just developed this society where we can get a little bit of everything from individual people. It's so hard to find everything we want in one person now. So people are okay with having 4 or 5 dates or partners until something falls off. And that's kind of where I see a lot of like, what did I say? Monogamy relationships in polygamy worlds. It doesn't exist anymore.
So yeah, that's my next question was going to be friends with benefits. And why is that the new norm? Why is that like everyone just wants to be friends with benefits? In my personal opinion, everyone's afraid of getting hurt still. No one wants to put it all out there to then have the carpet ripped out from underneath them. So I'm halfway in. I'm in enough where I can't get hurt. You know, I got 1 foot in.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think, you know, like I said, now things are so easy, right? So back in the day, if you look at dating, like, I don't know, I'm almost 40, so I don't know what really back in the day is, but you had to meet people kind of on an organic level, or you were being set up from your homeboy or whatever, right? So obviously, like, you hooked them up, right? So there was this formula that we were able to just meet people naturally. And so when things like that happened, it felt more like, wow, this might be something special. But then good old social media come in, and now we have all these platforms to meet people across the world. Okay, we're not just a little bit here, we're all over the place. And so what happens is if you post a picture or you say the right thing, someone's bound to inbox you or to pursue that. They see a pretty face and so they're like, oh, well, I'm going to shoot my shot. So when you start to realize you have X amount of people that you can entertain,
you have a lot more
your
options
are like crazy. So nobody really wants to you know, go for one because, wow, what about her? What about her? What about her? Oh my God, like, this is crazy. I'm getting all this attention. This might be better than this. And so again, we step back and, like you said, just one big toe in to just kind of entertain, but whatever's really gonna give us that satisfaction, that's what we'll do.
No, I mean, there's a statistic real quick. I think it was like 30 or 40% of divorces are linked to social media. Yeah, it was like 30%. It was something crazy.
Should be higher. I thought it'd be higher.
I don't know.
Because of engaging with other people.
Yes.
And I bet you can find out someone was cheating, you know, from social media too. You know, like we mentioned the whole social media and because it allows people, and people do it in real life when you encounter them face to face, they're put on a facade of who they are. And it's like the fun. Like, I dated a girl not a little bit ago, a few years back, right? And like, because we knew a lot of the same people, because she was co-signed by people that I respected. I was like, okay, like I know she kind of went through what she went through, but she's about it now, and like she's about this life, like my, you know, this for me, it's my faith and whatnot, right? And then as the relationship ended, and I think she had 1 foot out before we really broke up, and I realized, like, I go back and I see the signs. Oh, when she was talking to dude when we first got together, but she just said it was a homeboy, but she was gonna stop talking to him. Okay, what was that? Why did she have his number hidden under his name hidden under another number? You know, like it was a guy, you know, it was a girl's name, but we're like, okay, I gave her the benefit of the doubt there, and then this, and then this, and then this. Like, man, like, you know, like you begin to see, wow, she really wasn't who she said she was, and that's okay. Don't be who you're not, but don't pretend that you're about it when you're not about it, right? Don't fake for what? Because we both wasted our time. You
Is it
know, and
rejection?
men do that all the time.
Is
in
it rejection?
Facebook and social media, right?
Yeah.
They do that all the time. They say this, they pretend that they're really happy people who always see the good in life, and they're really virtuous people who are about love and kindness, but like, you know them in their personal life and they're a negative person. It's like, it's okay to be a negative person if that's what you are. Just be real with yourself about it. You know, like, hey, that's how I am. Don't pretend that you're this positive, virtuously, always optimistic person in life when you're really not, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think
social
that's
media.
somebody that they want to be honest. I think anybody who puts on a facade, it's really who they really want to be. They just don't know how to really be that. And sometimes you have to learn and you have to heal. I think, you know, we can fake the funk, you know, but there's also that fake it till you make it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just life. And that's just like the real of it. So again, it's kind of funny how you said that, you know, it's wasting time. I mean, that kind of seems to be like the one thing that we keep saying a lot too in this, you know, thing is we're wasting time. And if you're the type of person who has no intention on really dating with purpose, I thought that's kind of what, you know, people should be doing, especially if you're looking for marriage or you're looking for something long-term, date with purpose. So another question I want to ask is, when you do align with somebody and things are going fairly well, and let's say the sex happens, why does the relationship happen after sex? Now it's slowing the brakes, pumping the brakes, or let's see where this goes. Or even in some cases, I've had friends tell me that they've slept with the guy after, you know, maybe a month or two, depending on their situation, and the guy ghosts.
Yeah.
It's like you've been building this whole scenario with me. I give it up, and then you ghost me, or you just fall off, or now I find you seeing somebody out in public, you know, like, what the hell? So why does it change after sex?
I don't know. Is it the numbers thing? I have no idea. That I'm not sure of.
Well,
Maybe it's part of
clear to
that
me.
chase where
Yeah.
you finally got it and it's like, cool. You get bored.
I talked to a guy and he told me his number was like 150, 160. And it's like, he kind of wore it like it was a badge almost. And I was like, you know, and when I became single, I kind of found myself wanting to chase more women and wanting to do that stuff. And I was like, well, why? And I felt like that's what kind of gauged me as a man, is how many women I've been with. Is, you know, that's like, how many women I've been with is how much good of a man I am, how attractive I am, how, you know, all that stuff, seductive, how charming I am, all those things.
Yeah.
Well, let me say something, because you did ask me earlier about like that whole numbers game. And I've never done that. I'm more, like I said, more exclusive. I like to be more like focused in on one person, which I want to say something about that too on a minute. But women are viewed as hoes and sluts if they start keeping track of that.
Yeah.
You know, so guys, it's cool. It's, oh, right on, bro. Like, you're doing it. You're banging it out. Like, get you some. There's a props to it. Women don't sit around and say that they've smashed 50 guys, because they'd be like, damn, girl. Oh, what? Like, or even like other guys would be like, oh, no. Right. So it's cool for you. Again, we got stereotypes that fall into these type of things.
Absolutely.
Because women can't say that without being viewed as too much or doing too much or a hoe or whatever slang you want to throw on it. But for guys, it definitely has more of a masculine dominating, you know, you got it like that.
But that's what I'm saying.
I think the reason why is
that we're like, that's the terrible thing to measure what a man is by.
Yeah, it's ugly. That's an ugly thing.
But
Real
I think
ugly.
what happens, I think why is because it shows a masculine thing, and men are supposed to kind of carry a masculine form.
Yeah.
And so it's not so much like how many you've smashed, it's how many you have access to, because you're the man. Like, what's working for you to get all these women? You know, it's like getting corporate jobs, and that'd be like the popular thing to do. You know, your resume is awesome.
I
think
you're right.
They
you
view
know,
it the same way.
Thinking back, like I always think back like a gladiator, right? Like he'd have any girl he wanted, and so it's like he was looked at like the alpha. So I think a guy who gets a lot of women, he's looked at as, in his mind, or maybe
and probably in their mind,
as he's the alpha. You know, so it's really interesting when you start looking at that perspective.
But now you have alpha women.
Else. He might be failing everywhere else.
Yeah.
But in that one area, he feels like he's got it.
But now you have competition. It's alpha females.
Yeah.
got women who are coming at hard. You got women who are like, well, I'm not going to commit to nothing. I'm not going to do it your way. I'm doing it my way. If you don't buy me this, this, and this, I'm not messing with you. So then it kind of may deplete your value and make you feel insecure. And that becomes a manipulation games that people can play on each other and feed off of, which is crazy. I've gotten, this is something that bothers me when people are asking about me on a dating level is, of course, you get the why are you single question.
I got a jet. You guys keep talking. I got a jet real quick.
Okay.
Where are you going? What?
Well, to be honest, I had to use the restroom. So I think
yeah.
It should still.
So what did you say again, Nicole? You said
well, I always get asked,
yes.
you know, in
Why?
the, you know, meanings of moving into a, you know, a date or something is like, why are you single? You're pretty, or you're this, or you're that.
Yeah.
And again, there's a part of me that definitely views that as a choice because I haven't met my partner yet. I haven't met somebody that I feel would mesh well, or I have desensitized certain, you know, compartments of myself to not get hurt. So I don't even think about dating really. But I feel like that's very unfair because guys that look at really attractive women, if they're not confident in themselves, will see it more as a challenge. Like there's either she's crazy or she's got a bunch of guys, so she's not going to talk to me, which really isn't the case. Yes, women and men, if you're attractive or whatever, are going to have options, right?
Yeah.
But I would rather have the quality versus the quantity. And I feel like I'm automatically judged without being, you know, somebody getting to know me as, oh, wow, she's really cool. She's into sports. Her energy is fun. Like she's a really good woman. Her mind is on point. You know, I don't get that right away because they view just the exterior of a pretty woman that might have a bunch of guys throwing her dick pics all day. And that's really not the case.
Yeah. Funny.
So I don't like that, you know, instant judgment. I don't know if guys have that same problem where, you know, you're automatically viewed a certain way just by how you look or what you do for work or whatever, that it makes dating even more difficult because of those judgments.
Yeah, I think my wife asked me why I had not been why was I single? She was really curious, especially in the Christian world. In the Christian world, it's like, you know, like, well, you're 25, you should have been married by now. Like, what's the problem? Like, you know, it's not the same. Like, the average man doesn't get married till, you know, whatever, closer to 40. But nevertheless, in the Christian world, it should. They think it should be different. But, you know, I'm like, well, you know, that's not. I feel like people are judged based on that. However, based on circumstances, I think you're justified to look for the right partner, to be a good father, to be a good mother, to be and so it's more than just a provider and a good-looking person and a funny person and a person who X, Y, and Z.
So you're saying the numbers don't count then? I got high numbers though. I'm a man. I'm a good guy. I got high numbers.
Yeah.
I'm a cat.
Yeah, and being a good father, yeah, you know, like the father thing too. That's like women are looking for that. Like when women get more mature, I always say this. I tell my friends this. Okay, I'm gonna put this analogy out there, so that we get men. Yes, everything's a Costco sample to a man, right? Every interaction. But first, women when they're younger, it's like a Costco sample. They just handing it out, you know, to every. But when they get older, they realize, oh wait, this is something valuable. I gotta hold on to this. Because men are the longer I hold out, the more likely maybe a man was going to stick around. And they begin to say, "Oh, I'm looking for a man now who doesn't just have the tattoos, a motorcycle, and used to gangbang, but I'm looking for a guy who maybe has values, morals, perhaps insurance, 401k of some sort, and maybe makes great money, or maybe doesn't make great money, but he'll be a great father." Because I'm looking for somebody that's a suitable father for my children, and that's a whole other thing. Like, talking about my father, relevate him, like, that's something that is very hard to measure if a man doesn't have a kid yet, and it's hard to find somebody who wants to step up and raise somebody else's kids. People aren't lining up to do that, There's a lot of good women who have children, good women, and men are not lining up to raise their like. And it's a horrible thing because they need someone to show them how to be a man, you know. So with that being said, you know, like that there lessens the number of men who are even an option. You make money, okay, but you can't be a good father. Yeah, you make money, you know, you're good looking, you're funny, but you know, you don't really have any goals. You know, so it becomes.
Then you're left with just the numbers. That's what all that you. A little slip.
Yeah, those are the crumbs. Those are the crumbs left over.
You know, but it's like, what makes us think that? It's us men, or who's put that in our heads that's what's important. That's what makes you a man.
The sex thing, huh? I think we look for immediate. It's a simple way to measure a success against another man or another person, right? An easy measure. If I were to say what it was when I was younger, right? Because back in the day, I was really promiscuous. I loved women. Women loved me before I knew Jesus. Like, you know, and you know, like, and it was that. It was just that I made myself feel good. I made myself feel good about myself. The more women I slept with, the more women liked me, the more women cried over me, the more women told me they wanted to marry me, the more women told me they wanted to have my children, right? Like, oh wow, I feel great about myself. Like, I may be a horrible person inside, you know, and I'm dying, but I feel good based on what I'm getting externally from people, you know?
Yeah, it's like you said, that instant gratification instead of really digging into that turmoil and figuring out who you are to present the best of yourself. You know, when people say, oh, it's 50-50, you know, there's that argument where it should be 100-100, you know, we're getting more out of each other when we're more whole. And so again, you know, everybody has different standards and values and what they do for themselves and what they want for themselves. And I think until we really just regurgitate that from the inside out and figure it out, we're not going to be really beneficial to anybody, you know, except like you said, those crumbs where we have just a little bit of self-gratification. Like, I know I can get guys. I know my value, I know my worth, I know what I bring, but do I want to put that out there for just somebody who doesn't value me because he's not ready? No, I don't. So until you really start to line yourself up, manifestation, praying, whatever it is that you do to internalize and to grow, you're not going to attract those types of people.
Yeah. I do have a question for you, Nicole.
Yeah.
You're a very good friend of mine. You're a very confident friend of mine. And I know you seem to attract more confident men. And I know there's, on the other spectrum, there's a lot of very passive men who are not, they're not very confident in themselves. And a lot of the time they find themselves in the friend zone with the woman who they've shot their shoot or whatever you call it, and it didn't work out. And now, like, okay, I'm cool with just being friends.
Yeah.
As a woman, you know what his intentions were, but you keep him there. Why?
So why do women keep men in the friend zone when you know that he could be like A1 sauce?
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Or, you know, or no, why not just cut him loose and you know what, say he deserves to be cut loose and I'm going to stop talking to him.
I think, again, I'm not that particular person, but I could definitely try to speak on maybe the gauging of what women
I'd like
go
you to
through.
speak on the entire women population, if you will.
I mean, no pressure. Which is going to bring me to a question for you, but yes. So I think the reason why, you know, women can definitely kind of do like the friend zoning piece of things is because we do want that relationship. We like that companionship. I think that might go for both people. There's a companionship there. There is, you know, a sense of safety, you know, that you can share secrets and you can kind of build that, but maybe there's something there that's not really sparking like the romance. I don't know if it's a physical attraction or if that person, if she's maybe just kind of like me, like I said, I've just been so desensitized. I've met amazing men, like men that I know would change the world for me, but inside here and here, if I don't get me right, I'm going to put everybody in friend zone.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, like, yes, things feel good and it's nice to have people around. But if you truly see somebody as a friend, at least they're stopping that's your thing. It's just, it stopped. We're only going to be friends. Because if they were to do the sleeping with you and really putting together like a level of relationship that they really don't want with you, then again, we're wasting time. You're going to end up getting heartbroken because her real intent is just to keep you around.
And so in my experience and the men I've talked to,
I don't see it being a relationship.
They will sit in that friend zone with the hopes that it will one day change. And then,
so then I think guys need to make a decision on who cuts who.
But if the woman,
like you said,
go ahead.
Like you said earlier, like taking responsibility for yourself. So if you don't want to be just friend zoned with somebody who, yeah, you have a great time with, but you want more, she's not giving it to you, then you got to cut yourself off.
You need to have that self-value, right?
You got to have the self-value and the confidence to be like, hey, either she'll come around when she's ready, but I'm very valuable and I know that I can get myself a nice woman. Like, I'm not going to sit here and wait. But my question to you, kind of on the flip side, is there's been so many times where I mean, I can talk to almost every ex as if nothing ever happened, as if nothing bad ever happened, because I'm such a forgiving person, even on apologies I've never gotten, right? And I'm just that person. But what I don't like is when you can keep that kind of relationship, all of a sudden you get the text that you haven't seen in over a year. Hey you, hey stranger. Why do men feel like they can treat you a certain way and then like really just pop back into your life as if nothing happened? Or they keep women hanging on? Because that's the same thing. I know a lot of guys that will just tap in but never wanted a relationship with me.
I think it goes back to the roster idea. I think men like to have a roster with numbers, and
yikes,
they like to have something to fall back on. Like if my plans didn't work out, I'll go to the roster and see who's available to hang out this weekend. You know, and it's sad, and that's the truth. I think that's what it is. At least in my experience and the men I've talked to, that's what I've heard. And the thing is too with men, like there's like a rule where like you don't pick someone off someone's roster, even though you're not dating them, even though you're not nothing with them. If you can't take something off someone's roster because it's just frowned upon. Am I wrong?
Well, how do you know? Are you guys like sharing notes like who you have on your roster?
Like, oh, if a guy says, "Oh, I'm talking to so and so," that means he's trying to get with so and so.
Oh.
So a girl's like, "Oh, we're just talking, we're friends," and he's like, "Yeah, we're just talking." And there's a difference there.
Yeah, there is a difference there, because her "we're just talking" is literally just vocabulary, and he's like, "Yeah, we're just talking because I'm trying to get into those panties."
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah. So I honestly, you know, I think it kind of goes both ways a little bit, where, you know, you might be friend zoned because you don't have all the qualifications to be this all-star player, right? Let's talk sports here, because I'm down for that. But when you have a roster and all this other distractions, you're going to be putting in some really not qualified players, and you're going to lose the game. And, you know, it's a really shitty feeling when you have put your all into somebody, or you, like for me, when I'm zoned in on somebody, my phone is on, my screen is on, like you can see what's going on. I don't have to hide anything. I don't talk to other people while I'm zoned in on somebody. I'm a very loyal and faithful person, but I guarantee you, this is my scenario. They will play me thinking I'm playing them, only to find out they played themselves.
Yeah.
Because you're so spun out in your own head thinking, oh, that must have been a guy. She's not going to be honest. She's too pretty to be loyal. She's got guys everywhere. But I'm really a very genuine, open book. I will show you the text message I got from my dad or my brother when it showed up Bill or JT. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem, but I wish more people were like that. And so it kind of, again, it's just what you want to put out into things, and hopefully attract that same behavior back.
Why do you think they're not like that? Why do you think people do put locks on their phones and they do turn the volumes off? Why?
Because they're doing something. They want options. They don't want to invest. There's a lot of fear. Like if I'm liking this person, we really have a good time, I want to see where things go, but I need to have something kind of on the back burner too that I'm not ready to let go.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of guys don't like letting go of women because it is a confident booster. It is possibly a sex night. It could be she's just really cool. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. But when you're dating, I mean, we're talking about dating. Like, it's one thing to have, like, you and me, we're friends. We can talk about anything because we're open books. We relate, we can laugh. So yes, I believe we have to have those relationships from the opposite sex. But does it have to be sexual? Does it have to be manipulating? Does it have to be, you know, with bad intentions of hurting each other? No, I think we can coexist. But when you're dating and you're putting out false information and hope, you're hurting really good people.
Yeah.
I agree.
Bottom line.
That was good. Did
hopefully we can create an environment where men can step up and be men, you know, and you know, I because I've coaching like men and mentoring men in my Christian walk, you know, like it's been hard, like that I've had to tell men, you got to have that conversation with that person. You got to, it's uncomfortable. You got to handle that conversation. You can say it in a nice way, but you need to have it. And if you don't have it, that problem's not going anywhere. You know, it could be anything. Could be with the in-laws, could be with your wife, could be with your girlfriend, could be with your brother, who your father. You know, you got to have those hard conversations and be able to look somebody in the eye and say, I'm not happy with things. We need to address this issue, you know, and you know, and man up, you know, and because
to me, that's what a man is. A man is someone who can have those hard conversations, regardless of the outcome, because this is where we're having this conversation. And I think a lot of guys would rather slip around it, whatever it is, slip around it, not to have it. And it's like, yeah, you're still a boy.
Yeah. And you know, last night I was hanging out with a couple girlfriends. We were just having wine, and I feel like I've just been so focused on my business that I haven't even had time for just girlfriends or just doing a lot for myself. So we were hanging out, and it was just kind of funny that you're talking about this, but you know, they were saying that they noticed a lot of guys when they've gone out in public places, they all kind of just observe. They're not really confident in like pursuing or being the light of the party or being that kind of guy that's fun. And so it shows like this lack of confidence. And then these women are like, again, on a different level, right? So they're like, well, God, he's not confident. I'm not going to talk to him, you know? So they're kind of already like, nah, you don't even seem like you got it together. Yeah. So there's like this kind of like, I don't know, kind of like shield between each other, you know, when it comes down to, you know, the outside of things. But I thought it was interesting because she said, you know, it's really attractive when men come forth and they speak. You have motivational speakers that are sexy as hell, not because of how they look, but because they get it up here. Yeah. They are talking about their emotions. They are confident in who they are. And so it's a game changer that women are really like gravitating to the more emotional side of men, because that shows like you're tapping in, like you get it.
Yeah. If we go back to my gladiator theory, it's like everyone I feel like got the costume, but no one really wants to go to war. Like no one really wants to go to that scary place.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the guys who are really willing to go there. They're the real gladiators. They're the ones that get in the women, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of stuff because they're able to talk about it. They're putting it out there, and they don't care if they're emotional. You have emotions, like you were built with emotions. Yeah, you might navigate them a little bit differently, but when you tap in and you realize who you are or what you're capable of doing, like the whole manifestation and being positive, the more that you can, you know, you can actually like do that. You can recite it over and over and over, like things will just magnetize to you. So if you open up more and you do things more, oh my God, my other phone's ringing. You have all this.
She got the burner.
You know,
she got the burner.
I know, 2 phones. I know. I always made fun of people with 2 phones. I'm like, oh, what are you up to, right? And now I have 2 phones. But it's for business purposes only.
No.
But yeah, I think now, you know, but now you have women who have taken on like this very confident, I am woman, hear me roar, you know, we're doing a lot with, you know, I mean, we have a vice president woman, like, I mean, come on, that's huge. We're here to testify to the movement. And so I think if people really dig for equality, we have to be equal and just loving each other. You know, being okay with sharing, being okay with emotions, being okay with how, you know, emotions and everything is wired and works. If we tap in, like I said, I want women to start reading men's books to understand you better. And I think guys should do the same thing. Read a self-help book about women, because once you start to see how emotional she is, or how she, triggers, or how she feels, or how she's a nurturer, you can tap into those things that you really want out of a woman, versus playing games and just to try to get sex. Like, that's really the ultimate goal. Like, that's so weak.
Yep, I couldn't agree
because
more.
Sex is inevitable. Right?
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
That's good.
We're human.
Does anyone have any other questions to ask? That was a pretty good conversation.
It was deep. I mean, there's layers to this. We can
go on forever. I'm just stopping it because I know we had to.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about emotions. We didn't even really get into emotions too much.
Right.
This
is just the beginning.
Maybe we'll have a part 2.
Yeah.
Yes, part 2 should be emotions, because I have a lot to speak on emotions, and like I cry often. My wife sees me cry a lot. Cry because I'm so proud that my daughter is not my biological daughter. I came in at 10. When she came in, you're not my dad. Don't tell me what to do. And I'm like, you're right, I'm not. I'm like angry at her, right? To now, hey, I love you. She's like, I love you too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss you when I'm gone. She's like, I miss you too. Like,
that's cool, man.
I had to hold back now because it's like I'm so privileged. Yeah. I'm so privileged that this little girl looks at me like a father, and she trusts me. And I'm not a person, when I was younger, that I didn't even want kids. I didn't even want to be married, and what I've been just given this opportunity to help raise this little girl, to help define what type of man she's going to look for, what type of mother she's going to be, what type of father she wants to have, what type of father she wants for her kids. Like, that's very special. Anyway.
No. Hey, real quick,
that's for another podcast.
I'm very proud to be your friend, because you are stepping up and you're doing that thing that not a lot of men want to do. And the fact that you're letting it into your heart like that, like, you're being like open with it, man. So I'm proud to be your friend. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much, man. Nothing but love for you, man.
Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff.
No, definitely. Let's continue this on the second part, because I know we're gonna go for another hour.
For sure.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you. Everyone listening, you can check out the podcast. We're going to have it on YouTube probably the following Friday. So thank you very much. Later, guys.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the My Father podcast. I have a favor to ask of you guys. If you found any value in this, I ask that you please share this with anyone who you think might find some value as well. If you want to find the show notes, become a supporter, or join our community, go to www.my-father.com.